Hi, good morning. This is video log entry 176, I believe. Yeah, 176, and it's about 8 a.m., 9 a.m. CST. I don't know why I always give the specific time zone like that. That's really not for anybody to. I mean, I guess like you can go backwards and calculate when the video is published on YouTube because, well, I typically post it right after it, but then you got to think about the time at which or how long the video is plus the time it takes to upload on YouTube. I'm not sure if the published time is as soon as you publish it after uploading, or is it or right before uploading, or is it after uploading? So I don't know how that works. That's a question I'm not sure of. But anyways, it seems kind of like, yeah, I don't know. It's usually for me, but I also have it on my computer, so I can always check the time. It was just out of habit because that was the first thing I did the first time I did, and I didn't really think twice after that. I've been doing that for 176 videos apparently. I mean, I thought about it a couple times. I just didn't feel like mentioning it. I was like, that's probably stupid, but it sounds cool though. It sounds cool. It makes it sound more official than it actually is. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, anyways, that's just a tangent. Aside from me complaining about some of my particular quirks with some of my videos, I've been walking around a lot today or yesterday and the day before, and I was just looking for jobs and whatnot. I found a few cafes that were hiring, and there was a liquor store that has a bar in it. And I want to, I've never been a bar back before, even though I don't have any experience with that, but I do have. I've handled alcohol. I've made alcoholic beverages, so I mean, like I have some experience because I worked at a resort and I've done tap stuff and I've done liquors as well, like I think they had a lot of different liquors over there. I think they mainly had a bunch of tequila-based liquors, which I've completely forgotten the name of. Yeah, so yeah, I guess there was pina colada, and then there was like a couple other ones, but they were very basic ones. It wasn't like a full bar, but it happened to be a quote unquote burger stand that also sold alcohol plus liquor slash cocktails, I guess. Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't mind working as a bar back. It's closer to downtown. It's on one of the main streets, and they seem okay. I mean, they had like this bar at the top of the door. They have to pull. I've never seen that before. I don't know who designed the door and why it's there, but there was this bar you had to pull just to get out. It's like I don't know why it wasn't at the typical height that it usually is. So I had to like I don't know. It was awkward, so I had to grab it. Yeah, I don't know. There were a few other exits and whatnot, but that was the main exit because you can go out the way you went in. But it was weird, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm filling out. I just finished filling out the application. I had to put a few references on there, and well, I have a revamped resume, so I had to reprint from the CVS because I don't have my own printer, and it's like 29 cents per page or something. I was printing about 10 copies, I believe. So what is that, like $3 or so, plus taxes about $4. So yeah, I mean, I had to do that, and I'm gonna be walking again today, and I'll be going to a bunch of there were a few other cafes that I saw that seemed like they were hiring, but I may just walk in and ask, and I don't know, maybe I'd rather try out a line cook position because I've never really had I want to try different things out. To be honest, so that's what I was thinking about it, like a bar back position, and I've never worked as an official barista. It was actually at a Dunkin' Donuts in that resort again, and it was just I can't really say I was an official barista because that's like the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to that stuff. Yeah, so whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Those are the main. Kind of early. I shouldn't be talking so loud. I forgot to tell you Saturday, isn't it? So there are a lot of people still sleeping, most likely, because people like to stay up late and party. Yeah. So there's that, and then I'm just waiting for a bunch of other updates on my other applications and whatnot that I threw out into the web. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot to talk about today. I just felt like I should give an update since I haven't been doing too much. There hasn't really been a lot going on, and I've been kind of in a rut, and I worked out yesterday a little bit. and it wasn't a full hit workout, but it was just enough to put my BPM up because I didn't go on a walk, or to increase my BPM. So yeah, I don't know. I've been kind of, I don't know. Yeah, so quite a bit of stuff to do. Quite a bit of stuff. I got some coffee. I had to go to the grocery store today and to get some more grounded coffee, which is why I went to one of the convenience stores to grab some this morning. So yeah, that's, I have a lot of random adulting things. I always say adulting things. A lot of errands to run. A lot of errands to run. And I'm hoping I can get a pump and dump job by mid-February. So in the next 2 weeks or so, I'm gonna have a pump and dump job. I don't know what else to call it because I think it kind of depends. It really does. But yeah, I would say I'm a little bit desperate, so I'm willing to work as, yeah. So it doesn't matter. I'm probably gonna work for like a few months at one of those jobs, and I'm sure most of those people know. They know. They know. They probably get a lot of people that cycle in and out, depending on how shitty the job is, of course. But if I can just push, like 2 weeks, get my first paycheck, and if I have to leave, then it's whatever, and then I'll probably find something else. It depends. It really does. I am being somewhat pessimistic, and I've never had jobs like that before, so maybe I'll like it, but it's on one of the yeah. Anyways, I don't feel like talking about it because yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit more stress inducing than my mind is accustomed to, especially since it's been a long time since I've worked a fast paced job. So we'll see how it goes. My nervous system is probably going to be out of whack, so I think my employer, if they decide to hire me, is going to be confused because my brain just may freeze out of nowhere, and he's going to be like, "Yo, you there? Hello? Is somebody up there?" Like, that's actually happened before to me. It was like where my brain was just like, there was just like complete sensory overload, and my brain was like, I don't know. Like, that's why I try to go outside as much as possible, because if I start working in a place where it's just, where there's just a lot of stimuli, then obviously my brain's going to freak out. And yeah, so I just, I've been trying to get my brain to get used to those, like that amount of sensory input again, because I've been kind of closing myself off from the world too much. So yeah, I mean, I'm not trying, yeah. We'll see how it goes. I probably won't get fired, but they're probably gonna be confused about my brain. I get confused about it a lot too, so I can understand that. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't have a lot to talk about today. Well, let me see. My notebook's like on the other side of the unit. I'm thinking whether I should grab it or not. Yeah, I really wasn't expecting it to take this long for the city to hire me for a winter position. Like, I mean, it took them it didn't take as long for the summer, so I was just a little bit. It's like you would think that since it's a little bit slower and they don't have to process as many candidates, it would. I mean, I guess I could understand the urgency of it too. So, I mean, the lady that I talked to said that it would most likely take a shorter amount of time due to the fact that they aren't going through as many people through the hiring process, right? For the hiring process, and well, it's taking longer. So, whatever. That's why I had a few miscalculations, and I was also placing all of my eggs in one basket, expecting them to hire me because I thought I did good in the interview. I think I did good in the interview. I mean, they didn't really ask. I don't think they were expecting much. I mean, it's a park position, so. And then I had some transferable skills, and they were probably like, "Yeah, this is good enough." But you never know. So I don't know. I put all my eggs in one basket, and I was also not expecting it to take this goddamn long. So, whatever. I just have to revise my plans, and that's fine. And plus, I think this is good because I tend to get into ruts where I get comfortable with certain patterns and whatnot, and I should try to, expand my experiences and just different kind of jobs and whatnot. So I think I'll probably do that. Um, I don't even know what I was writing down. I don't know. My brain's not quite here today, and I'm having trouble talking. And I don't know. It's just been. I don't like to talk about personal things. I'm not like an extremely emotional person, and I usually tend to deal with emotional things by myself in my own space. And even when I had a therapist, I was always practical about dealing with that kind of stuff. So I've gotten better. Like I didn't like. It's been. I've gotten much better at processing emotions, but it's still kind of difficult at times. So. And plus, I mean, like, there's no reason to talk about in front of a camera. I mean, for some people, it can be good to talk about your emotions in front of a camera to other people, but I think guys are obviously different, and they tend to just deal with it in their own space. And yeah. And typically, I don't ramble either. Like, I don't know. I'm not much of a rambler. I know some people can be like that, but I have a lot of thoughts that go through my head that I think about, but I don't. There's like no emotional attachment to it. There's no intensity to the emotion. Then that's there. Yeah, that's a thought. I happen to think this, but I don't necessarily have to say it, right? I yeah. I mean, I'm typically a reserved person, so yeah. I don't know, and I don't know. Like I don't know. It's I'm constantly analyzing my brain at times, and I don't know. I don't understand it sometimes, but it's cool. It's cool. Um, I'm just sitting here because I don't know if anything else is going to come out. Probably not, because I just have a lot of personal things to worry about, and this is just honestly me being human and having to deal with things. And I mean, yesterday I guess I was going through like another existential crisis because of how much is going on, and there are a lot of things going on in the news, and there's just a lot going on, especially when you pay attention to the news and whatnot. And I tend to not really worry about the grander scope of reality and the world. I mean, sometimes I pay attention to it, but I don't put too much emotion into those given events that happen internationally, or even just outside of the particular locale that you live in. Um, I don't know. It's just not really. It's kind of. I don't mean to sound insensitive, but it is kind of a waste of headspace if it's something you can't control, right? And I've always been like that. I mean, I don't know. People always wonder, is like, why do you never complain about things? Like, what's the point of complaining about something if you have no control over it? And if I do have control over it, I'm not going to complain about it, because then that means I can change it. It's just like it's like the algorithm that my brain goes through. It's like it's very simple. It doesn't have to be that complicated, right? And when you complain, nobody really respects you or takes your words seriously. So if you're talking into an echo chamber, and it produces no change in the world. So if you are quote unquote complaining, make it sound more formal, I guess. Anyways, yeah, people are they don't think sometimes. And yeah, now I'm complaining about people complaining because I get annoyed with them. But I don't expect people to be rational, but my standards have lowered quite a bit just being around people. People are they these are like personal things. Again, like I don't know who to talk to about this. I mean, yeah. Anyways, what would you expect from the world, right? What would you expect? Just thinking about if there's anything else that I would like to say. Not really. I just try not to be bitter in situations. I think most people in my situation probably get really bitter and start complaining, and just think that there's no way of fixing these particular issues that they're in front of. And they get hopeless easily, and I used to be. I've never been. I don't know. I'm just too logical about it, right? It's like I happen to put myself in this situation, and I can take myself out of it because I've done it before, and I'll do it again if I have to. It's just, and this is a little bit more precarious because I'm getting a double whammy where I have to be practical. I'm also going through another quote unquote existential crisis because it seems like my worldview is expanding even more, um, just because I'm putting myself out in places that I not necessarily had to and whatnot. So I'm seeing more things, and so my brain is still kind of going through an integration process while simultaneously trying to, hold the weight of just being more responsible and whatnot. So, yeah. So, and I think I already went through. Like again, I tend to process emotions by myself, and I went through that yesterday, and yeah, there's just nothing really to talk about. And I know people kind of like the feeling of seeing somebody being vulnerable because they can connect with them and whatnot, but I guess the only thing I can really say is just I'm not that kind of person, and yeah, I don't know, I don't know, but yeah, I think this is enough without me having to be straightforward about the strife that I'm going through right now, that other people can understand that yeah, it can be a little bit turbulent at times, so it can be turbulent. So yeah, I don't know. I've never been. I mean, I don't think I've ever felt like I was a victim. Um, I mean, I felt loneliness and all that, but I knew that loneliness was always my fault, really, for not wanting to be around people all the time. So, and then you have people who tend to be on the other side of the realm where they have no choice but to be lonely because I guess nobody likes them. But that could be difficult at times too because there are people who can change enough to make people like them, and there are people who try so hard to change, but um, they just it's at least the average person wouldn't be able to bear their presence. It's still possible to not be lonely because you have the internet and you can connect with people in that manner. And I kind of sympathize with people who tend to go down the victim route and they end up getting bitter and blame it on the world, and they start doing crazy things like there are a lot of examples. I don't like talking about these sensitive topics, but school shootings and just the manifestos that people tend to have, especially the younger generation, that have kind of, I guess, been somewhat inspired by Ted Kaczynski. And it's just like, bro, it's like you're not making anything better. I'm sorry, but you're not making anything better. And yeah, it's kind of depressing, but again, it's just not something I don't like talking about. But I sympathize with those kinds of people, though. I really do. And I guess part of the reason why I'm like this, I wouldn't say I'm an incel, but I've been through I wouldn't say I'm an incel because I haven't put effort into actually finding somebody, and I've been kind of thrown into that classification by random people on the internet. Is probably just them trolling. I haven't really had anybody say that to me to my face. I don't think I'm an incel. I just haven't put the necessary effort into actually, because incel stands for involuntary celibate, and I'm essentially a voluntary celibate because I'm not putting effort into it. So, yeah. So I don't know. It's just I don't know. I'm just letting my thoughts go, and just seeing what else comes into my head. But yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Just a lot of random thoughts here and there, and thinking about the trials and tribulations of life, and yeah, just going through the motions and kind of finding a balance point between things that you can control and you can't control, right? Can control and you can't control, and just kind of putting the things that you can control into your RAM to focus on, I guess. Again, that's very robotic, but that you do have to go through those especially when there's a lot of pressure, especially when there's a lot of pressure on your shoulders. I wouldn't necessarily say that I have a lot, but it's a lot more than what I'm accustomed to, and a lot of people who have dealt with this kind of stuff when they were really young would say that's nothing, right? Of course, because they already went through those experiences and whatnot. So, but I expect most people to be understanding about somebody that's been kind of coddled their whole life. And the funny thing is, I just got tired of it. I don't know. I got tired of being coddled, so I wanted to make my life more interesting. I don't know why I keep talking about. I think I talked about this in the video before too. So, at least I'm not depressed. I'm still pessimistic about the world, but I'm not depressed. Pessimistic, but not depressed. And being depressed and letting the pessimism control those emotional parts of your brain is kind of your fault anyways for allowing that to happen. So, yeah. Yep. Depression can be an emotional response too. I've begun to realize that a lot more when I was not too aware of my emotional landscapes, but the more and more I become aware of my emotional landscapes, the more I'm able to mitigate quote unquote depression. Now, it's still there and I can push it back, and it's just the intervals in which my depressive states occur are not as long because I'm just more aware of how my brain functions, I guess. And then there's the more neurochemical aspect of it that doesn't really necessarily have an emotional response attached to it at times, where it's just like in like a state of inactivity, I guess, or an idle state. And I think that's partially my fault because I tend to put myself in my room a lot. And I know there are a lot of people out there that have it even worse than me who can't even really change those neurochemical aspects by, I don't know, just like going to a job, being active, like, kind of checking all the boxes, like your diet, sleeping well, being active, having a social life. And, I don't know, like finding a purpose is like the last part, right? Maybe that void is because you haven't quite found a purpose, and that can be a little bit difficult, especially if you're individualistic. It's hard to really put yourself into a system that doesn't really support individualism. They expect you to just be a part of the system, and like a cog in the system, right? Like people say, and I think that's like the biggest part of it. And of course, again, even if you had all of that, like if you did find a purpose and all that, I think there's still people out there who, again, quote unquote, check all those boxes, and they still end out at least having maybe not major depressive disorder, but a cycle of like just minor depression and whatnot. So, and now I think I still have my depressive states from a combination of a lack of purpose and feeling individualistic, and also the neurochemical aspects, like I keep saying. So, but I think I'm getting closer to finding a place in this world. I still have problems with making friends and whatnot, but I don't think it's my fault at all. I just happen to be, I just happen to have different interests, and it's hard for me to find friends with this. And also, I wouldn't even say it's that. I think it's just the fact that I like being alone most of the time, and to maintain a relationship, for most people, you have to spend a lot of time with them, because I think it's a form of reassurance for a lot of people that they feel like you're putting effort into the relationship. So I guess that's like a reason why a lot of people tend to drift into the wayside when it comes to trying to keep relations with me, and that's understandable. Like, I just happen to be very nonchalant about being around people all the time, and I just enjoy my solitude, and and that makes it really difficult for finding a partner. um, like your standard partner. Of course, there are people out there that would understand you because they may be more like you, or they just understand because they have the intellectual capacity to take their self outside of their self and see you through your point of view, right? And that is possible, but most people don't have the okay, your average human doesn't have that kind of intelligence, or they don't see the bigger picture, right? They tend to kind of I don't know, most people tend to be selfish in relationships. It's all about them, right? And they think that people should abide by their rules, but it's a relationship from my perspective is more through like the systematized point of view, where there's a net profit gained through two different entities, and the net profit is a summation of the satisfaction for both entities and whatnot. And unfortunately, the satisfaction gained by one entity that tends to be more egotistical doesn't understand the satisfaction for the other entity to make the system actually properly work, I guess. I don't know how else to say it because I tend to think about systems a lot, but you can turn it into an equation if you want to, right? Right, and then you have to think about like what satisfaction is, and it's not just satisfaction. I kind of take that back. It's both. It's like, I don't know. It's just basically two individuals kind of unionizing into one quote unquote entity, and they have to understand that it's kind of expanding your worldview of self. That self becomes two people, right? And it's kind of, I think a lot of people don't understand that because, again, it's just like their ego gets in front of them and they forget that relationships are inherently that if it's going to be long term. So they tend to, again, find ways to complain about the said person for not getting their way. And you just can't do much about it because there's no point in arguing with people like that, right? They'd have to, I don't know, actually, I think some people just don't have the capacity to go past that phase. They just never change and they die that way, unfortunately. And you just kind of had to find somebody that's intelligent enough to understand that simple concept, right? Yeah. And I don't know. It can be hard sometimes. That's why I look for people that are typically my age because they're actually mature enough to understand that. Usually. Usually. And then you think about like compatibility and all that too. And once people are mature enough to understand that the next part is actual compatibility, and compatibility being like, where are we going with this relationship? It's like where do we want to go with this? And it's all just communication and being able to go back and forth to come up with a goal in mind, I guess you could call it that. The goal could just be just discovering parts of yourself by being with somebody else for a while. That could just be the goal, and then that's not inherently a life partner, but it's a phase in which you are able to understand yourself more to then just understand what you want, right? And you can't do that. You just can't do that by yourself. I used to think I had to do that by myself, but I'm starting to go through the phase of feeling through things more and more now, to the point where I kind of want to try something new with somebody, because that there's actually, I have to be honest with myself too. It's like right now I kind of want to be in a relationship with somebody just to see how it goes and whatnot. And I'm just thinking, I mean, I do have a few people on my phone, but I wouldn't say they ghosted me, but they I don't know. Girls are weird. I don't know. Maybe I hope I don't seem too intimidating, because some of the things I say are a little bit. That was me. Okay, I wasn't really. I don't want to talk about my text messages because I do seem not egotistical. I wouldn't say too confident, but or full of myself. I think it's just people see me as full of myself because I've become mature enough to understand what I want and to be direct about what I want. So, um, but you shouldn't be doing that too early because it does scare people away, especially if they're looking for something that's kind of just playful, or if they're just looking for sex or whatever. And I'm fine with that. I wouldn't mind just having a sex-based relationship or friends with benefits kind of thing, as long as I don't get an emotional attachment. Because I had kind of a thing with somebody that I had an emotional attachment with for whatever goddamn reason. I don't know why I was emotionally attached to them. And I could tell at the beginning of it that they were finding ways to do that, because it's just like the standard tactics that they use for people who are quote unquote unhealed, or that have either like some kind of parent wound, right? And like the hot and cold process actually does fuck with the brain sometimes, especially for people who tend to be more insecure due to the fact of having a dysfunctional father, typically, or something like that. And maybe it's the mother as well, because I don't know. I don't really know much about psychology too much. I'd like to understand that more though. Yeah, due to some form of trauma response or whatever. Because you have what are the detachments? There's like anxious and fearful, avoidance. I think the anxious. What's the difference between the anxious and the fearful? I know they're a form of avoidance, but I think fearful tend to, like, they really want closeness, but at the same time they tend to not exhibit it, I think, or they come in every once in a while, then they leave because they I don't know, it's like their brain just has a flight or fight because of the fact that maybe potentially just because of their parents not showing them that they can be loved, right? So I don't really understand that. I would have to read a book on that or look at a video about it, and I just know it's a trauma response. And I just don't have a deep understanding of it, so I'm just not going to say anything. But I know that's like a form of an avoidant. I think I was actually kind of an avoidant when I was... my first relationship, I wouldn't even say like I was actually, I would say I was pretty stable. I think I don't know if that's one of them, but I think it's like the non-avoidant types. Like I wouldn't say I could get close to somebody, but I was also stable. I just liked having my own space. So it was like I was healthy. I had my family treated me pretty well for the most part, and so I didn't have those trauma responses to relationships. My only issue was like actually showing my emotions and being able to express them to somebody. I was just more reserved, and I don't know if that's a bad thing. I think it's just a thing that most people don't want, right? They want, I guess, maybe, I think some girls like guys to be more intimate, and then there are other girls out there that don't, obviously, like anybody else. And I wouldn't say that's a bad thing at all. So, yeah, I just had to find somebody that's more compatible with me. I used to think I had issues. I just happened to have been with somebody that thought about relationships differently. And then I ran into somebody that had some form of an avoidant attachment style. So that was weird. And I remember the first week, they were just acting. I wasn't sure if there was like an avoidant attachment style. It's kind of hard to tell. It's like when especially if you meet somebody online, and they exhibit characteristics of an avoidant attachment style, can also mean that they're playing games with you, right? And they're trying to find ways to manipulate you into like being useful to them and whatnot. It's hard to tell at times. And now I didn't have the necessary data for it, but they also didn't communicate with me, so I just kind of ignored them because they weren't being communicative. They weren't saying anything, and they didn't really share anything with me. So I was like, okay, whatever. I can't solve that for you if you're not even gonna be honest or say anything, right? And there was like some form of an emotional attachment to them, and that kind of didn't scare me, but it was definitely not something I was used to because I never felt something like that before. And yeah, I don't know, there was definitely a lot of back and forth, and definitely yeah, yep. I know, like part of me thinks that they may have just been a sociopath or psychopath of some sorts, when potentially narcissistic tendencies. Um, but whatever. There's like once you see those red flags, it's just best not to even interact with them, right? Until maybe they grow up and actually start talking, and start communicating with you, so you'll know. Well, again, that's still kind of hard to tell. I mean, if you're face to face with somebody, at least I would. I think I'd be potentially pretty good at detecting somebody lying to me. Um, so, I mean, if I were face to face with somebody, then I'd probably be able to tell, but not over the internet. Obviously not. Um, so yeah, just like another stalemate situation that I kind of just got over. It was draining being around them too, so that was not fun. Not fun. Mm-mm-mm. So yeah, um, yeah, girls are cool. I'm hoping I can find. I may start texting random people. There has to be somebody. Like maybe I'll check my Facebook and and then I was thinking about making an Instagram and Twitter. So I think I'm gonna make those because it makes it easier when you're talking to somebody. You could just tell them to add you on Instagram, and you have photos, and it makes them feel more safe, I guess, and it kind of shows that you have a life outside of being a loner. And so it's good to have an Instagram. Um, it's good. So I had to like I have to actually have a life too to have an Instagram to then prove that I don't like I don't stay at home all day. Yeah, so I mean so that means that actually go outside and find friends. And a good start is having a job and just being a human being, right? A human being. So yeah. Yeah. Um uh, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just rambling, I guess. I'm talking very slowly today. I've just been I don't know, stressors, I guess. Stressors. It's been quite tough over here. Quite tough. I don't like saying that, but I talked about this before, but yeah. Anyways, do I have anything else to say? I may look at different attachment styles now that I'm thinking of it, and why it manifests, because that's the thing that confuses me the most. I know it's like some kind of parental dynamic and whatnot, and again, now that I think about it again, I think it's them feeling like they're not worthy of love, basically. So what happens is, of course, it's an inherent driver in the human mind to want intimacy. So I guess the fearful avoidant types tend to get close to somebody, and they pull back because they feel like they're not worthy of it. So that's like the reason why it happens. And now you get a lot of crazy red pillars out there that aren't necessarily too nice to these kinds of people, and they take advantage of their psyche. I've never been much of an exploiter, but I know people like that exist, and I don't really I don't really agree with that. And you know I just yeah, I don't know, I'm more of an understanding person. I tend to sympathize with people more. So I mean that's like probably the best way to understand the anxious avoidant or fearful avoidant types. And the anxious avoidant types, I think, tend to be the same way, except it's the same manifestation but a less intense version of it. They get close, but they only want like sex. But the other kind of intimacy, that's quote unquote closeness, is not really there. Like emotional communication and just being open in general about things and talking, like they're only there for sexual stuff, right? But then the fearful types, they get close to you, they show it, maybe they may have sex with you, they may do all of those other parts of intimacy, but then they pull away. And I think those are the differences between the fearful and the anxious types. Yeah. Yeah, but it really just kind of boils down to this human not feeling worthy of love. in those particular ways at least. Yeah, some shit like that. I don't know. I'd have to look into it more. I'm just speculating at this point. Oh, it's been 40 minutes of me talking, and I've been talking really slow, so I bet this is probably going to be a boring video for most people, but you can put it on 2x speed, and yeah. Yep. So, this is actually one of the longer videos I've done, so anyways, I think I'm going to stop now. Bye.